Are you searching for a deeper understanding of your faith?
Inspiring Philosophy is your go-to resource for exploring the rich tapestry of Christian thought.
From biblical archaeology to philosophy of mind, we dive into the topics that matter.
Our content bridges faith and understanding, offering insights into God's existence and the reliability of the New Testament.
Join a community where faith meets reason and discover the answers you've been seeking.
Inspiring Philosophy, where faith meets understanding. Oh, we're live. I was reading something. Okay, welcome everyone. We're gonna get into it. Yeah, I'm here. I'm awake. When it rains in Tucson, everyone goes to sleep because we don't get clouds a lot, and it just started raining today. So feel like just extra tired because we don't do well when there's no sun. We like collapse.
Yeah, you are really grumpy when the sun's gone.
Yeah, it's awful because it's what happens when you live in Tucson. You don't get any sun, basically die. So everyone, I got an important announcement. I'm a little annoyed at this. So tomorrow morning, I was supposed to debate Abdullah Al-Andalusi on which is better for society, Islam or Christianity. He informed us today that he has a toothache. He says he's got a cracked tooth and he's got an infection in it. And therefore, his face is swollen and he can't do the debate now. He did not, however, give us any days on which he wants to reschedule it. Within 10 minutes of his email, I replied back and I said, I'm willing to do this any day at the same time, which would be 9 a.m. PST or 12 EST. Haven't heard back from him all day. So I don't know what's going on. Apparently that debate's not happening tomorrow now. I'm a little upset by that because I've been preparing for it for a while, but I'm willing to do it at any moment he is ready. So when his tooth feels better, I'll do it. So I'm just letting everyone know that debate is tentatively canceled, hopefully just postponed. But I would like that debate to happen as sooner rather than later because I already wrote my opening statement. So if I don't hear back from him by tomorrow, I'm going to email him again. I'll email him again and again until we get a date. So I'm going to keep pushing that because, yeah, that should happen because we already agreed to it and everything.
Yeah, it shouldn't be postponed for that long.
No,
at least I wouldn't suspect it will be.
No, I've had a tooth infection before. It's like went to the dentist, antibiotics, painkillers, was fine in like 2 days.
Yeah, I played football with a tooth infection.
Yeah. It's not going to say anything else.
To be fair, like I also played football with a dislocated shoulder and stuff like that too. So maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's making it up. I don't want people to assume that until we get actual evidence. I think he probably does have an actual tooth issue, and hopefully we can get this rescheduled ASAP. I'm just annoyed he did not actually send any more dates to reschedule on because I'm ready to do it. I'm ready. Like that's all I've been doing all weekend, getting ready for this, and then bam, the debate is canceled. Just give me a date, any date. Just give me a date, dude. Just want a date. So I'm going to keep bothering him until we get a date. But anyway, tonight we're talking about abortion, another fun topic.
Yes.
So fun. Not. So for those who don't know, a Democratic representative in Texas went on Joe Rogan's podcast to talk about a host of issues. And the first half hour of this interview is just awful. The rest of it, the last 2 hours, is not bad. They have a great conversation. If they would have started this interview 2 hours or a half hour in, I would have had not a lot of issues with it. But the first half hour is just filled with problem after problem. This guy is trying to make a biblical case for abortion, trying to say that Christians can be pro-homosexual lesbian marriage. And I'm like, and his arguments were just awful. And I'm like, we got to cover this because I saw a lot of people complaining on X about it. So I was like, yeah, let's cover this.
I only really watched that clip on X about the abortion stuff. I tried to listen to this throughout the day while I was working on other stuff, but I got 15 minutes in.
That's fine. I got plenty. There's a look. The guy is probably I listened to the whole interview. He's a very well. His name is James Talarico.
Yeah.
Very, very well-meaningful person. Very, very, I think, a good heart. He tells a lot of stories that I think shows he's got a good heart. Not very knowledgeable on the Bible or on Christian history or on the pro-life arguments. And it's like, dude, if you should not even have brought that stuff up. You have no idea what you're talking about. This was so bad. I was really annoyed and angry with him for the first half hour. But when I listened to the rest of it, I was like, okay, he's a good guy. He's just misguided. Yeah. There's a lot of problems. So we'll try to be nice. But I mean, the guy just says a lot of really just unfortunately ignorant things. Like around 33 minutes in the interview, he's like, yeah, Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire.
Did he?
Yes, he does. Here, why don't I just play that for you really quickly so Than can lose his nonsense.
I'm still recovering from that last stream we did where the Muslim was defending cousin marriage.
Oh, you just wait till the next Muslim we got to go after. You're gonna love that. It's gonna be just as bad, maybe worse.
In Acts. But 300 years after that, after the Roman Empire crucified Jesus, Emperor Constantine made Christianity the official religion of that very same empire.
No, he did not. James, if you're watching this, it is a huge myth. I'm sick and tired of correcting it. Constantine never did that. He never did that. That may have happened under Theodosius, but even historians debate that how far the edict actually went. Did it just go through Constantinople's borders, or did it actually go beyond? Was it enforceable? That the official religion would have happened under Theodosius. Constantine just made Christianity legal. He never made it the official religion of the empire. This is a huge historical myth, and he just said it to like hundreds of thousands of people.
That's what upsets me about this in general is, I mean, just do your politician stuff. Why?
Yeah, do your politician stuff.
Don't do Bible scholar stuff.
And yeah, a lot of problems there. Let's get to some super chats here. Thank you for becoming a channel member. True Christians cannot support abortion. Very evil. Yes, I would totally agree with you. We're going to get into that in his case. Quite honestly, and I don't mean this to be to attack him. I think he's a very smart person, but he also made one of the dumbest cases for abortion from the Bible I've ever seen.
It's the typical Democratic pro-choice arguments I've heard verbatim for a long time.
A lot of gaslighting, a lot of deflection, a lot of just not understanding what the passages you're referring to say. I mean, somebody
in the chat said that he's in seminary.
He is. He does say that through the full interview. So now that's a good point. I'm glad they brought that up because he should know better. If he's studying to be a minister in the full interview, he says he's studying to be a minister. He wants to get out of politics to pastor his hometown church.
Well, good for good for him for that. That's awesome. But I'm curious to know where he's studying because
I don't know. I don't think he's actually said that, but still, you should know better because some of his arguments were so bad. The biblical exegesis is just a joke. I mean, yeah, I get you're in an interview when like Wes Huff was on. He said some things he shouldn't have said. He's admitted that. But I mean, like, you're talking about passages. You have no idea what they say. Like, it's just really, really bad.
Yeah.
Have you done a video yet about the
anachronistic
Chaldean
references in Genesis?
Oh, Yeah. Well, yeah. So I did. It's called the Lost City of Abraham. And actually, I do cite some data that maybe that's not anachronistic as we think it is. So it could very well be the case. There was an inscription recently found. I have it in. Hold on. Where is it? I got a book over here. I can find it here. Fan, help me out. Where's the book? Do you see it anywhere?
What's that one?
Oh, thanks. Good. I'm glad you saw it.
I have no clue what book you're talking about.
Yeah, that one. No, I can't find it anywhere. It's somewhere on there.
Well, while you're
Okay,
looking for that, wait, I misread a
What?
comment. Never mind.
Okay. Well, you suck. Okay, suck at this. So,
Well-
yeah, I can't find it either. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay, so now it happened in those days. I think it's in the second volume too. Yeah, they cite an inscription that the Chaldeans may have actually been in like Mesopotamia a little bit earlier than we actually think. So I covered it in that the lost city of Abraham, and I argue that Abraham's city of is actually in the north. It's Urfa. David Falk also has a video. He argues it's another city up north. So there's two really interesting possibilities. So you could check out Falk's video on Abraham. Check out my video. So yeah, it's and the Chaldean reference may actually support the idea that Chaldeans were in the region around the time of Moses. Not exactly, but it does push it a lot closer to it. So interesting thing there. So yeah, got a video on that. Yeah, check out the video of the lost city of Abraham. You'll enjoy it. Tooth A, did the Alzut beat him in the desert? Thanks, Dawa Troll. Always there to make the stream super mature. The Alzut will be with us forever.
We can't escape the men of Alzud at this point.
It's disgusting. Yes. Fried peas date fruit fund. Thank you. I definitely need a
wants you
fruit
to eat
fund.
dates. That's the joke, Mike.
Why?
Because I know that jokes tend to go.
You're not helpful. I think Joe Rogan started going to church. You can ask Big John Steele about it. Also, Than, did you see the vid? That's all that.
I have not watched that
reading-
video yet.
No, we've not. Yeah, actually, Wes Huff has verified he is going to some church. That's all we know. Things were taken out of context, though, I believe, later. Politician misrepresenting the facts. Color me shocked. Yeah. And again, I don't think James is a bad guy.
I don't even know if I can attribute like malice to what he's doing. Like he sounds like he actually believes the things he's saying.
Yeah. No, he's a pretty good guy. I'm not gonna think he's one of the evil politicians. He seems like he's a pretty good guy. He's just really well uninformed on this, and therefore you should not be uninformed if you're making policy decisions about abortion, especially if you're going to argue from a faith-based argument. And that's what he's doing, and it's really, really bad.
I'm personally just not even a fan of faith-based arguments for the pro-life position or anything. You're better off just like reading scholarship.
Reading it right side up, yes.
Oh, it's backwards. Agency, Pregnancy, and Persons. This is a good book. One of my friends, Perry Hendricks, has an entry in it. Use the philosophical arguments.
Matt wants to say that he's marked safe from the men of Alzut.
Nah, you say that now, man.
You never know.
It's coming.
You never know when they're going to show up and you're not behind the Diddy line. Does the Bible teach natural law theory? I tend to think it does because I favor that, but people who favor divine command theory would say it doesn't. So you'll get different opinions. Check out the book, Christian Ethics 4 Views, for a debate between natural law and divine command theory. There's an interesting debate about that happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's get into our little political friend here. Again, I'm not saying that he's an evil person, but again, his arguments for abortion are bad. And then if we have time after, we're going to go back and look at his other arguments earlier. Anything really past the 34-minute mark is not worth really going over for this channel's sake, as you'll see. But this is his case for abortion from the Bible.
And I think if we're looking at the last 40, 50 years, the religious right has made a concerted effort to make homosexuality and abortion the two biggest issues for Christians. And, the Southern Baptist Convention was pro-choice until the late 1970s.
Sam, is that true?
Nope.
Nope, it's not true at all.
It's
Completely
not.
false.
We well, so do you want to what do you want to cover here? The SBC thing, or what do you there's so
So
many
first off,
he said there's a lot that he said there.
there's a lot. So the first point he says, like, it's been like the religious right is trying to make, homosexuality and abortion two biggest issues for Christians. First of all, abortion is the biggest issue for Christians. I have been in a number of churches. You know what? Every time I hear around election year, 9 times out of 10, a Christian will say, I'm voting for whoever is going to be more pro-life. I don't care about anything else. I want babies to stop dying. And quite frankly, that is a noble cause.
Yes.
Like, that is a noble cause. So yes, abortion is the biggest issue. The next thing he said is homosexuality is another big issue. To be fair, the religious right was saying in the 90s that if we allow gay marriage, we're going to start seeing children being taught it in schools at young ages, and you're going to see all these horrible downside. In some areas, that has kind of happened. We did see kind of the slippery slope go, and now I'm sort of going like, okay, maybe the religious right was onto something early on when they were saying, hey, you can't allow this because it'll lead to this, and then this, and this, and even, but to be clear, there are even a lot of like gay, lesbian people that are pushing back on the extreme people in their group, like people who want to like put that in the schools and all that, like transitioning children nonsense and all that crap. So,
yeah.
But I mean, like, I can see now why it is a major issue for a lot of Christians, because they were warning about this slippery slope in the 90s, and now they're seeing it happen. Not for everyone, not all LGBT people, but it is happening in some places, in some areas, and it is scaring a lot of people. So, but abortion is the biggest issue for sure for Christians. But
yeah, and to say that they didn't care about it before then, I just think is historically I'll just, to be nice, historically inaccurate. But this is also just a really common thing. I mean, we heard this with Drew when we responded to him. It's the same exact thing. Well, if they didn't care about this, they were actually pro choice before 1970 and all this other stuff. And if you kind of go into the data, that doesn't, so you're not going to find that.
No.
Do you want me to kind of bring up the SBC stuff here, or
just go through your notes? Yeah. We'll just cover them.
Okay. So I mean, with the SBC, right? Let's start here. The SBC was founded in 1845, and that's important because it's a new, relatively young organization at this point. They're not like the Catholic Church, where they actually have a developed theology of politics, which is like a real thing that churches have, right? And so you're not going to hear them talking about this. He says that the SBC in the late 1970s made pro-life declarations, but that's only going to be true if you think 1971 is late. Where in it we covered it. I'll just bring up my notes here actually really quickly. That way people can.
Why don't you have your notes up in front of you?
No, like on the stream.
Oh.
There. Oh, wait.
Hold on.
Boom. There you go.
Oh.
So this is the 1971 Declaration, and you'll see, therefore it be resolved that this convention expressed the belief that society has responsibility to affirm through the laws of the state and high view of sanctity of human life, including fetal life, in order to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Be it further resolved that we call upon the Southern Baptists to work for legislations for possibility of abortion under certain conditions, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. They're still against abortions. They're just making exceptions for certain extenuating circumstances, right?
And what I found on this was that they didn't have there was no official view on abortion, whether pro-choice or pro-life, but Roe v. Wade kind of forced them to make an official stance. This idea that they were just pro-choice before and then they became pro-life after is absurd nonsense. They just didn't have an official stance because abortion was also illegal, as one of the someone pointed out in the chat. It was illegal, so they didn't really have to say much about it. It just didn't,
Well, and that's why you can find other data points to actually show and make inferences off of, historically speaking, from other pieces of data. So like in 1961, we have the National Council of Churches. At that time, we have 39 million Christians that are represented here from 25 Protestant denominations, 8 Eastern Orthodox groups, and they adopted a statement condemning, and I quote, abortion, or any method which destroys human life except when the health or life of the mother is at stake. 1961 that this was made in. Okay. In 12 years before the Roe decision, a young woman wrote to Billy Graham asking him, "Through a young and foolish sin, I had an abortion. I now feel guilty of murder. How can I ever know forgiveness?" In that newspaper, Graham replies, abortion is as violent a sin against God, nature, and oneself as anyone can commit. And I don't have. Hold on.
I'm here. I'm just putting.
No, you're okay.
I'm trying to clear my throat.
Yeah, I can't show the newspaper here because of copyright reasons and everything like that. But I can say I can put the link up if anybody wants it, and you can access it here. Okay. The main point I'm just trying to make is like we have examples within America of people that are staunchly pro-life, and then we can go through the church fathers. The Didache mentions this. Tertullian.
We'll get that in a minute. I got some slides on that. We'll go to that in a minute here. Let's see what else he has to say, because he's going to start trying to do this, and it's not good.
So this idea that to be a Christian means you have to be anti-gay and anti-abortion, there really is no historical, theological, biblical basis for that opinion.
Well,
so that's what I wanted to let him say. Okay, so let me put my slides up here.
Yeah,
because I do have some slides. This just came from the recent video we put out, How Christianity Saved Children. And as you can see in the Didache, Letter of Barnabas, Epistle of Diognetus, they were all against abortion. Some of these are first century Christian writings, 2nd century and on. Hippolytus, Justin Martyr, Tertullian, Minucius Felix. I think that's how you pronounce it. Also, how do you say his name?
Where?
Anthrogonus, this guy's name.
Oh, Athenagoras.
Athenagoras. Yeah, some of these names are ridiculous. But we have consistent arguments here.
Yep.
Against abortion, again, in the early church. The people who were the inheritors of the faith from the apostles, who were much closer to them, were very clear the church was against abortion, and they were against the wider culture. Like when we say that those women who use drugs to bring an abortion commit murder, and we'll have to give an account to God for the abortion, on what principles should we commit murder. They called it committing murder. This was murder to them.
Yep.
Didache directly outlaws abortion. I actually think sometimes I go back and forth. Sometimes I wonder if the Didache should have been included in the New Testament, honestly. It was so close to the apostles.
Yeah.
But you can make a biblical case for the abortion, to be anti-abortion. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who's the first person to recognize the Messiah? Okay. It's an unborn baby. John the Baptist leaps in Elizabeth's womb. Okay. So you have a child in there. And of course, what does Jesus say? You shall not murder. So there's obviously a sentient human being in Elizabeth. You don't murder a sentient human being. Proverbs. Okay. You do not shed the innocent blood. God hates that. What is more innocent than an unborn child? Of course, you have Hosea 12:3 as well. In the womb, he took his brother by the heel, and in his manhood, he strove with God. Romans 9:10 talks about Jacob being elected while he was still in the womb. Okay. He was elected because he was already a person. God sees unborn children as persons. And of course, here's the story. You can see it also in Genesis 25 about them already being sentient, conscious agents, acting and being elected and struggling in the womb. This is how they're talked about in Scripture. This is already spoken of as if they're living human persons. Nowhere in Scripture does it ever say they get personhood at a later point. Scripture assumes they are persons from conception on. And again, there's a very simple argument. Premise one. Okay. In Christians, again, let me preface this by saying in Christians, again, we have the two books concept, the book of Scripture and the book of nature. Nature teaches us life begins at conception. There's no denying that. That's just a scientific fact. Premise one, life begins at conception. Premise two, it's wrong to kill a human life that's innocent, apart from things like justice or self-defense or acts of war. It's wrong to kill an innocent human life. Therefore, conclusion, it's wrong to kill an unborn baby. End of story. Abortion is wrong.
Yeah. If you want to point to the New Testament, you could also just kind of point to the fact that if you're going to use this type of logic, as a Christian, I'm worried that you're gonna be swimming in Christological heresy if you're gonna deny that Jesus was a person in the womb of Mary.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, I don't think these pro-choice advocates really think this stuff out when they're arguing from the
Yeah.
Bible.
I
But I mean,
wouldn't
again,
make that argument to somebody that's not a Christian, but since Tony, right? Tony?
James,
James.
James, Tony, they sound the same. What do you know? It's the thing.
But James is a Christian, he says, so I think he would care about that. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm kind of bringing that up.
Yeah. So let's get to some super chats before we get to his biblical case for abortion. James gets into universalism, new thoughts, beliefs. Melissa Doherty has put a ton into that. Yeah, he does. He does imply universalism throughout this. Not sure where he really stands on that, but that's a separate issue. We would reject that for sure. Hey, IP, just wanted to know if you've done a video on Rebecca being 3 when Isaac married her. Oh yeah, I've never done any. I've done like 1,000 shorts on that because of Muslims and their like Sheikh Uthman and their horrible arguments, constantly trying to say the Bible says Rebecca was 3 when she married Isaac. I don't know how many videos I've done on that at this point. It's been so many, but they're shorts typically, not like a formal video because it's just such a stupid argument. It's so stupid. They lie. They will lie to our faces and say that Genesis says. I remember watching the Muslim cowboy pick up a Bible and go, Christians will be so surprised to know that in Genesis 21 and 22, it says Rebecca was 3 when she married Isaac. And it's like he's like flipping to the page and it's just clear he hasn't read it because one of the chapters he names, Rebecca's not even mentioned in it. And in the second one, doesn't say that either. So yeah, I've done a bunch debunking that nonsense. I like Big John Steele's case, something like P1, I am a person. P2, I used to be a fetus. P3, a fetus is a person. Therefore, abortion should be illegal. Yeah. Should makes logical sense.
If you like that argument, you'll like Perry Hendricks's argument in this book. Where to go? It's the impairment argument. If you guys ever look into this stuff. Premise 1: if it is immoral to impair the fetus by giving it fetal alcohol syndrome, then ceteris paribus, it is immoral to kill the fetus. It is immoral to impair the fetus by giving it fetal alcohol syndrome. Ceteris paribus, it is immoral to kill the fetus. To abort a fetus is in most cases to kill it. So ceteris paribus, to abort a fetus is in most cases immoral.
Yeah. Yeah. You could also use the argument like if a guy crashes into a pregnant woman in a car and she dies.
Yeah, same thing.
They will double homicide. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, same exact part. Same.
Yeah, the laws on the books right now are completely contradictory. You can have an abortion, but if you kill a woman who's pregnant, you get charged with double homicide. Like, I don't even, man, it's messed up. Hate to be off topic, but do you think 1 Kings chapter 19 highlights the plurality of Yahweh or just describes word interchange for the angel of the Lord? No, I think it does. But also the whole point, I think, is that the author is doing a comparison. So you have Yahweh at the end show up as a multiplicity. Like there's this multiplicity that shows up before Yahweh. There's a great fire, a great earthquake, and he's not in those things. There's this multiplicity of things showing up before Yahweh. Meanwhile, Yahweh shows up as a multiplicity. He's this caring angel. He is the word who speaks, and he is himself also. So you have that. So it could just be one person of the Trinity. I'm open to that. It's not my go-to chapter because I think the author is doing that intentionally. Like, look, there's this great earthquake. There's this great fire, and he's not there. There's a multiplicity of nature, and there's these multiple aspects of the way God can manifest as well. So it wouldn't be my go-to chapter is what I'd say. My wife wants you to refute David K. Bernard. He's a oneness Pentecostal that tries to convert Trinitarians into Unitarianism and is growing fast.
Send whatever you got to my email address, than@inspiringphilosophy.com.
I've not even heard of this guy. Okay, there he is. Look here. Who sent this in? All right, AT Ministries. Send Than a video, preferably a nice, good, compact one, like a good 10-minute video, perhaps. Something we could address that covers a lot of his arguments. That'd be helpful for us because then we can do it. It's a lot easier than us having to track down the video. So that'd be helpful.
The amount of time it takes to find random people's arguments in all that stuff, I unfortunately just don't have the time to do that. So if you can send that over to me, I can put together a video.
Yeah. Abortion is ritualized human sacrifice. At least the pagans did it to make the crops grow. We slaughter our young because babies are inconvenient. I mean, if you want to look at it like that, sure. I wouldn't say that they are actually intently, like with intent, performing a human sacrifice.
I don't think
you could say in like the psychology of it, they are like, it's a sacrifice to their own egos, perhaps. But that's like deep, more philosophical ways of defining things. But it's not like they are actually putting it on an altar, you would say.
I find that engaging in this kind of rhetoric with people tends to do more harm than good. It's one of the reasons why I don't publicly even debate abortion topics too much.
He's afraid. He's running.
No,
He's
I'd rather
terrified.
I'd rather actually just kind of have a heartfelt conversation with somebody on this stuff.
No,
you're hiding, boy. You're hiding, and you know you can't come out and show your face.
He is hiding from the pro-choice arguments. The powerful.
I'm terrified.
Speaking of that, what are Than's credentials? Yeah, Than. Why are you even talking about this stuff without credentials? You know the atheist. You can't talk about anything you don't have a PhD in and have written several books on. So shut up. You're not allowed to talk.
I think people already know I don't have credentials.
Then that's why you should be talking about anything you don't have a PhD on. Okay, except they're atheists. They can talk about whatever they want, whenever they want. They go on any stream they want, talk about any topic they want. But as Christians, we're not allowed to talk about anything unless we got a PhD, as I've been told multiple times from atheists talking about things outside of their credentials.
To be fair to AT, I'm willing to bet he was just curious.
Yeah, joking.
But also, in my defense too, I mean, I'll just kind of point this out. I've yet to have any of the atheist scholars kind of credential shame me. Even Jan McClellan hasn't done that to me yet. So,
well, you just wait. I get it all the time. Like, this guy is talking about quantum physics. He's not a physicist. Well, I've never done that. I've talked about the philosophy of quantum mechanics.
My credentials are that I'm friends with a lot of the people that have credentials, and anytime I've asked them about getting a PhD, they said, "Don't waste your time."
It's just gatekeeping. When someone brings up your credentials, it's typically somebody not of your tribe who's attacking you. And what they mean to say is, I don't want you talking about this, but I don't want to deal with your arguments. So I'm just finding a quick way to dismiss you, so I don't have to think hard about it. Because they will never do the same credential shaming to people on their own side. Like, people will attack me for talking about the New Testament, but they don't do it to like apologia. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Mike. Than read the rest of this. Than.
Bark, bark. Come for the muscles, stay for the philosophy. Drip and muscles.
Why would you say that on the stream, Than? Don't do that.
I see. The people come for your brain, and I don't know what I bring to the table, but I bring it, man.
He brings it, guys. Yes. Let's see this next one. I checked out James' church at the website, and the first thing I see is a pride flag and a cross. What is his church? He says he's a member of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Austin. Let me see if I can look that up really fast here. Let's see. I'll put it on the screen here. Yep, there it is. Right there. If that is his church. Listen. Here's something to throw back at James. He says, like, these conservative Christians, they want to make everything about abortion and about gays, but so do you guys. Like, you guys put it on the cross. Could you imagine if you went to a conservative church and saw an American flag on a cross? I would be appalled as someone who is a conservative. I'd be like, don't do that. Take that off. But this is not sacrilegious to them. Yes, it's just as sacrilegious as putting an American flag on a cross. Or the Christian nationalists to do that kind of crap. Like, it's just as sacrilegious.
Yeah. It makes me upset.
Yeah. So don't.
And again, it's not because I'm not upset because of homosexual people being represented or anything like that. It's can we just keep sacred things sacred without playing identity politics
No,
those
their
sacred objects.
politics. Here's my problem. A lot of progressive Christians complain constantly. The conservative Christians make everything political. They make their politics their god, and then they turn around and do that exact same thing by putting like pride flags up as like religious symbolism. It's like, guys, I think you're projecting here. Most conservative churches I've been in are not like that. Politics is rarely ever preached from the pulpit, but most liberal churches do that constantly.
Yes.
It's rather like it's a lot of projection.
There was a recent survey actually that I read. There's a Pew Research one that actually
You don't read. You don't
What?
read. You never read. You never read.
Sorry. You're right. I had my caretaker explain to me the survey. And I think what I got out of it was that your point is right. Most conservatives, when they were asked about hearing about politics in a bunch of different areas from the pulpit, they said it was extremely rare that they heard anything. And it was the liberal churches that said they heard a lot about different political topics from the pulpit almost all the time.
Yeah.
I'd have to find the survey, but
The most political we get in my church is that the weekly prayer. We always pray for the mayor, who's a Democrat, the governor, Katie Hobbs, who's a Democrat, and for the president, who's a Republican, Donald Trump. We pray for all the leaders. That's as political as it gets in my church. I was surprised Rebecca was 3. She was a female Hercules. Well, first of all, Dollar Troll, don't assume her gender. Second of all, yes, she was able to water like 10 camels, give water to 10 camels at age 3. I've never seen a 3-year-old be able to do that. They usually get distracted after looking at the well for a minute or anything. But she was quite a person, according to Dowell Gandis. So, all right, let's get back to James here because we've been away for a while, and I'm sure he misses us.
yeah, let's get back to Tony.
When was abortion even invented?
Well, there were certainly abortions in the ancient world. There is
How did
some.
they-
I just love Joe's question. When was this invented? I mean, it's a fair question, but it's like since the first
laughed
humans.
so hard when I first heard that.
I mean, I'm not trying to be disparaging. I get what he means. I mean, like you'd think it was invented,
It's
but I
just
mean,
such
like
a
honestly,
bro question. It's phrased in such a bro way, and I loved it.
Basis for that opinion.
Well, when was abortion even invented?
Well, there were certainly abortions in the ancient world. There is
How did
some.
they-
Well, there's, and again, I haven't studied this enough to say this definitively, but
we
there
know.
are interpretations of certain passages from the Torah where some folks will even say that there is some subtle instructions for how to perform an abortion in the ancient world, certain things to drink, things like that. The point is,
all right. Before we get to the point, what he's referring to, ladies and gentlemen, is Numbers 5. It's not about abortion. It's about a test of adultery, is what he thinks. And first of all, people think this is like some barbaric practice. Think about it from God's perspective. The only way you can accuse a woman of abortion is if you go through this test and he divinely, people think this is a barbaric practice, but God is basically saying the only way you can accuse a woman of adultery, like, and actually her be punished, is if it's divinely revealed. It actually puts the woman in a very good position, because if it's not divinely revealed, she's fine. Like, it's got to be like a divinely sanctioned thing. But it's about, she goes to the priest because the husband accuses her. So they make her drink this thing. The priest shall make the woman drink the water of bitterness that brings the curse. And the water that brings the curse shall enter into her and cause bitter pain. And the priest shall take the grain offering of jealousy out of the woman's hand and shall wave the grain offering before the Lord and before the altar. The priest shall take a handful of grain offering as its memorial potion and burn it on the altar. And afterwards shall make the woman drink the water. And when he has made her drink the water, then if she has defiled herself, aka committed adultery, and has broken faith with her husband, that water that brings the curse shall enter into her and cause bitter pain, and her womb shall swell, and her thighs shall fall away, and the woman shall become a curse among her people. But if the woman has not defiled herself and is clean, then she shall be free and shall conceive children. Shall conceive, meaning the woman has not even conceived yet in this ordeal. This is not about performing an abortion. Nothing about losing a baby or a fetus. It's about her possibly becoming infertile through divine intervention because of adultery. Even later rabbis would debate as if a pregnant woman should even be allowed in this ordeal, with the obvious assumption that you don't put pregnant women in this ordeal because you could lose the baby.
It's worth noting, and it's worth noting, like, you can even read Josephus and other people reading about this. I think it was Josephus that actually mentions that he thought it was dropsy was the was like the medical classification of what's happening to the woman. Others would think it's like a type of leprosy. Never do you actually see any kind of reference to this being an abortion or anything like that.
This is a bad argument.
It's just,
yeah. And even to his credit, Dan McClellan has said this is not about abortion.
Really?
Yeah, he's done several videos responding to people saying, "Yeah, I don't think this works." He starts the videos like, "I would support this creator's rhetorical goals, but this is not abortion."
That this idea that there is a set Christian orthodoxy on the issue of abortion is just not rooted in Scripture. We can have an honest debate about it. If Pope Francis, were to come back and sit at this table and tell me, James, I'm pro-life and anti-abortion, here's my theological argument, I am here to listen and respect that opinion. I have dear friends who are anti-abortion. All I'm asking is that for Christians who are pro-choice and who respect the bodily autonomy of women, that we be given the space to make our theological argument, because I think there is a lot of biblical evidence to support that opinion.
So far, he's given us Numbers 5.
James, if you're listening, I would love to give you the space to make this theological argument with us if you'd ever want to discuss that with us.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, James, if you watch someone letting James know, he's welcome on the channel ever if he wants to argue for abortion. We will have him on.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go easy on him. I am staunchly pro-life. We're not going to be mean either. Like, we'll be nice, but we will throw the verses out. I would love to see his case that the Bible allows abortion. In the words of Aaron Raw, bring it.
Yeah.
We'll be nice. We're not going to interrupt and attack and degrade and insult, but we will still be firm in our position because we both studied this a lot.
Yeah, just in case, James, the Tony joke is just a joke. I make that in jest. We will not be mean to you. I will maybe call you Tony once or twice if we talk.
For some reason, For some reason, Than thought your name was Tony, but someone let James know. We'd be happy to.
It was his last name. Started with a T.
Therefore, you and your Southern European mindset
today.
You're just like, oh, Tony, Tony, over on
Tony, what you doing
over
man?
in Italy? Yeah. This is a problem with Southern Europeans, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
What do you think is the biblical evidence to support the opinion of being pro-abortion?
So one, in Genesis, God creates life by breathing life into the first human being, which we later call Adam. That life starts when you take your first breath, and that is actually the mainline position in Judaism, is that's when life starts.
So he's referring to Genesis 2, where God breathes the breath of life into Adam. Okay, first of all, that is not how most humans are made, so that's a bad comparison. It's like we're not coming out of the dust, every single one of us. Like if this is a special creation of Adam, which I'm not even sure it is, based on reading
I think
several scholars. Yeah. If this is an actual creation point, this is not the same way people are made today. It doesn't work. So bad.
It's really bad. I don't know if you have slides on this or anything like that, but just a few
things.
No,
because it's just a bad argument.
Yeah.
But go on.
A few things to consider here, right? One is just going to be that the scientific community just at large agrees that a fetus is alive. Cellular respiration, metabolic respiration happens. Oh, okay, cool.
And I got this article, that live action is put out. Just the evidence, the references, the quotes, everyone agrees life begins conception.
And to drive this point home a little bit more, they make ventilatory movements, right? They just don't ventilate oxygen. It's amniotic fluid that they ventilate. So the only difference here is the medium of oxygen intake at this point, right? That's something to kind of keep in mind. Because by this logic, then, if this is what you're going to do, like newborns who haven't taken the first breath or patients on life support, blah, 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 right? Then they lack moral status all of a sudden. And a good textbook example of this, I'll just bring up a personal story, is my first son was a preemie. We went in for an emergency C-section. He came 2 months early, and I watched the doctors pull him out, and he was dead when they pulled him out, not breathing. I don't know how long it lasted for them to resuscitate him or anything like that. But here's the question. Let's just say it was a minute. During that minute that they were resuscitating my son, did he lack moral status because he had not breathed oxygen yet?
Yes.
I don't. I mean, if you want to say yes to that question, I have other issues, right?
Yeah.
And then let's just consider like some other hermeneutical issues here. The breath of life is definitely not referring to ventilation here. And you don't have to like reject young earth creationism for this too, right? Because prior to this, mammals and fish, who are living creatures, have breath, but they don't have the breath of life, the nishmat hayim, which is what Adam gets, right? So yeah, I guess like fish also don't have lungs, and fish are considered to have life. The whole entire point that I'm trying to make here is like, this is clearly just not about oxygen ventilation. This is clearly symbolic of something else. And if it was about oxygen ventilation, and if you looked at passages like Ecclesiastes 11:5, where it says, as you do not know the way that the spirit comes to the bones in the womb, a woman with child, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything. The word used for spirit there is ruach, which is interchangeable with the nefesh word for breath. And the whole entire point here is now we're seeing that God is entering into the bones of the person in the womb. But wasn't life supposed to be at conception? I mean, at first breath. Oh, you're pulling out my notes here?
Yeah. What is the verse you mentioned?
Right here.
Oh, Ecclesi. Yeah, there it is. That's what I want to put up there. Yeah, the spirit comes in the bones in the womb of the woman with child. Yeah, so you have a spirit in there, already in the child in the woman.
Yeah,
sounds like a person according to the Bible.
Yes, and so we'll have lots of other interesting points here. I mean, we can. Do you want to go into the thing about the mainline Jewish stuff, or?
Well, what is the mainline? Because he may said like the mainline Jewish view is that
it's really hard to tell. So from
seems
what
like
I've
it's conflicting is what I can tell.
It's very conflicting. There isn't like an official modern Jewish position. Okay, a lot of Orthodox Jews, from what I've been able to find, are pro-life, but they make allowances for extreme circumstances. That being said, let's just say, even if we granted to him that modern mainline Jewish thought sees things this way, it doesn't tell us what ancient Jewish thought would say. And that's what we have to look at. So like if we look at Exodus 21, 22 through 25, right? When the men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her child comes out, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, but if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life. There's debates to this, but I'll just quote Callum Miller, who is a bioethicist, in his paper, Why Biblical Arguments for Abortion Fail. He says the most likely reading of this is that there is no harm means the baby was delivered prematurely, but alive and well, warranting a fine for the trauma and risk of prematurely induced delivery. We have Bible passages that, again, Hebrew Bible, right? Ancient Jewish literature that affirm personhood before birth. Other really interesting things to kind of keep in mind is in the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance, we have the Damascus document. These two scholars translate the Damascus document, and you see that whoever slaughters a domestic or wild animal with a living fetus in it, these are the ones who violate the way meaning Torah. God has decreed to remove them. See the same thing here. And the whole entire point here is, to them, they saw the action of killing a child, a newly born animal, and the action of killing an animal in the womb as identical to each other. And you can make the inference from there that they would also see the same thing with humans. This is in the Dead Sea Scrolls. You have
Yeah.
Philo of Alexandria, who says, therefore Moses has utterly prohibited the exposure of children by tacit prohibition and condemns death. As I have said before, those who are the causes of miscarriage to a woman whose child conceived within her is already formed. Yada, yada, yada. You get the point. You can keep on. He says the same thing in De Spectalis, Pseudo Fossilides, ancient Jewish philosopher, says a woman should not destroy the unborn in her belly. He was alive 6th century, but scholars date this between 100 and BC and 100 AD. The Sibylline oracles, again. Let me just kind of skip to the thing here. And all who caused abortions and all who their offspring cast unlawfully away. I can go on. Josephus talks about it. First Enoch. This one's interesting. Second Temple literature, right? But he mentions a demon. The context here is there's different demons or cosmic rebelling forces, right? And they're evil and they're teaching people how to do certain evil things. That's the narrative context here. This one showed the sons of the men, all the evil blows of the spirits of the demons and the blows that attack the embryo in the womb. Wait, why are we casting that as an evil thing? You kind of get the point, right? Like I can keep going on and on and on. Why are modern Jews then pro-choice, if they are, according to him? I'm not sure, but it's not probative to me, at least.
I mean, all the texts, you look at so many ancient texts around the time the New Testament, before and after, is being written. What do we get? Everyone's against abortion. Like, are we really going to think that the Bible is too? Like, when we can show places where it makes a very easy inference that they assumed fetuses were persons that could be elected, had rights, could do things, could recognize things.
Yeah.
Then if you think about it from a Christian perspective, something interesting that Jesus does throughout his ministry is he is breaking first century norms about women, talking with women, learning from women, having women lieutenants in his movement. And this was something that was kind of unheard of in the first century. The longest conversation Jesus has with anybody in the whole Bible is with the Samaritan woman at the well.
That's false. The longest conversation Jesus has is with his disciples. It's in the Gospel of John. It's called the Farewell Discourse. It's several chapters long. Maybe he's meant to say it's the longest conversation Jesus has with a single person, but it's not the longest conversation Jesus has with anyone. That's just false.
And so this affirmation of women as full and equal people is a huge part of the Jesus movement, especially the early church. And then the last, I think...
yes, and because he looked at women as full and equal persons, that means he was also okay with them killing their babies.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Doesn't follow.
I don't understand this line of argumentation.
It's a non sequitur. It's a blatant non sequitur. Jesus loved women. True. That doesn't mean he wanted them killing their infants, their unborn infants. That doesn't follow at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a non sequitur at best.
I mean, very based things to point out, James, but it just doesn't help your conclusion.
This is the pro-choice argument from the Bible, though. I mean, it's just not there. It's non-existent.
Story I would go to is the story of Mary. Mary is probably my favorite figure in the Bible, the mother of Jesus. And, she's an oppressed peasant teenage girl living in poverty under an oppressive empire as a Jew. And she has a vision from God that she's going to give birth to a baby who's going to bring the powerful down from their thrones, going to scatter the proud, who's going to send the rich away empty. I mean, this revolutionary song that she sings, it's called the Magnificat. And it's actually been banned by certain authoritarian regimes because it is so radical. But I say all this in context of abortion because before God comes over Mary and we have the incarnation, God asks for Mary's consent, which is remarkable. I mean, go back and read this in Luke. I mean, the angel comes down and asks Mary if this is something she wants to do. And she says, if it is God's will, let it be done. Let it be. Let it happen. So to me, that is an affirmation in one of our most central stories that creation has to be done with consent. You cannot force someone to create. Creation is one of the most sacred acts that we engage in as human beings, but that has to be done with consent. It has to be done with freedom, and to me, that is absolutely consistent with the ministry and life and death of Jesus. And so,
Okay, let's just stop it there. Okay, first of all, James, even if you're right, and there are so many problems in what you're saying about what the Bible actually says here, even if you're right, Mary consents to Jesus being conceived in her womb. That doesn't automatically give her the right that if she changed her mind 2 months later, she can have an abortion. Like, this is not a good argument, because the angel showing up to say that the Holy Spirit will come upon you and you will conceive. It's prior to conception. This is not saying, though, this is not the angel showing up halfway through the pregnancy and going, by the way, did you know the Holy Spirit is who came upon you? Do you want to continue the pregnancy, Mary? Do you want, or you can get an abortion? We got a clinic down the road if you're interested. Like, that's not what's going on. This is such a bastardization of what Luke 1 is saying for so many reasons. It does not help the pro-choice position, because we all agree you should be able to consent to getting conception. No one thinks that you should not consent to that. We are firmly against women being forced into that kind of stuff. Okay. But but having sex is basically consent to conception, because we all know what could potentially happen. Like, the only surefire way to not is abstinence. So you are technically consenting to the possibility of getting pregnant if you are trying to or performing in the act which leads to conception. This is the problem. So the other issue, and if you want to jump in, just let me know. The other issue is, let me just put the passage up there. Okay, Mary does consent, but the passage never says the angel asked her. So she was greatly troubled, saying, trying to discern. She says, and the angel said to her, do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son. You shall call his name Jesus, for you'll be great and called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will reign over the house of Jacob and his kingdom forever. Mary said to the angel, how will this be, since I'm a virgin? The angel answered her, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child will be born, who will be called the Son of God. And behold, your relative Elizabeth, in her old age, has also conceived a son. So conceived a son, still a son after conception, prior to birth. And in the 6th month, with her, whom was called barren, for nothing was impossible with God. And Mary said, behold, I am the servant of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word. And the angel departed from her. So nowhere does the angel, now Mary does consent. James is right about that. Verse 38. Nowhere did the angel go, hey, Mary, God wants to know, are you cool with this or not? Like, first of all, God is omniscient. He doesn't have to ask. And I have wrestled with atheists on the other side saying that, like, Mary was like forced into this. Like, it's extreme, like, which is utter nonsense, because God, being omniscient, morally perfect, can go to a woman who he knows would be fine with the plan. He doesn't need to ask. He can just go and say, here's the plan. She'll go, of course I'm in. Like, obviously. So I did a video on this, I think, like last year, responding to atheists on this issue, trying to say that Mary was like sort of like forced into this against her will. Like, she was raped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, utter nonsense. She obviously consented, but the angel also didn't ask. So this is like the extreme opposite on the other side. Like, you have people saying Mary was forced. You have other people just bastardizing the text, saying that like somehow she was asked. Like, the angel told her what was going to happen, and Mary agreed that she wanted this to happen. That's what actually happened. So he misrepresents the passage. And none of this supports pro-choice arguments, because this is before conception ever happens.
Yeah, the focus on consent here to create, I think, is really misguided here, because, okay, if we take the instances of like rape and any of these horrible instances out, right? If we just take into the case of like the normal everyday abortion sense of the discussion, this view of consent is really weird, because within ethics we have the foreseeability principle, and all this other stuff. So like, here's one, for instance, that I just had to pull up from my book here. Really simple formula. If person A knowingly and voluntarily does X and X carries risk R, then A is morally and often legally responsible for R if it occurs, even if A did not desire it. This is a very simple principle. And so like, the basic idea is that you are implying or tacitly consenting to creating a life, even if you're not copulating for the sole purpose of procreation. You are still morally and legally responsible for the conception of the child. You have parental responsibilities now. So,
and the whole issue about Mary, like people will say, well, Mary didn't have a choice. Okay, well, this is, and therefore, but this is, if you use like Frankfurt cases, and this is what I brought up in my video last year, like, was Mary like forced into this? Forget the name of it. I should look that up really quick for anyone who's interested. No, I use Frankfurt cases. Like, moral responsibility does not require the ability to do otherwise, because you can consent, be a part of the plan, as Frankfurt cases show, even if you lack the ability to do otherwise.
Yeah. If you are the source of the decision, it's all good, man.
It's all good. And she is the source of the decision. And again, it just follows that God does not have to ask if he knows from his omniscience that, it's.
Yeah. And somebody did say this in the chat, like, Mary could have just been like, yeah, God, not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. The video is, did Mary have a choice? Did Mary, in the thumbnail, it says, did Mary give consent? And I covered this in like a 3-minute video from last year. Let me see here, because we were dealing with crazy atheists trying to say, oh, yes, Mary was basically forced in against her will.
What if Jesus was aborted?
Well, the world would be far worse off, given we'd have to live without all the benefits that Christianity has given us.
Well, maybe God would learn a lesson about consent and asking for it before he knocks up a teenager.
What are you talking about? The Bible tells us Mary was a virgin. There was no intercourse involved. It also doesn't tell us Mary's age when Jesus was conceived. Scholarly estimates indicate that Jewish girls in Palestine at this time would marry between their late teens to early 20s. So Mary was probably around the age of 18. And most importantly, Luke tells us that Mary consented to God's plan. She wasn't forced to go along with this against her will. Now, some argue that Mary really didn't have a choice in the matter regarding Jesus' conception. She didn't have the power to negotiate, or she explicitly offered a choice in the matter. So she really wasn't free to say yes, because there was no alternative possibility. Therefore, it was impossible for her to freely consent. But this is based on an outdated understanding of free will, which assumes that free will requires the ability to do otherwise. But Frankfurt cases, named after the philosopher Harry Frankfurt, show that this is not the case. A typical Frankfurt case can run like this. Mr. Black wants to unalive Mr. Smith, but he's not going to do it himself. Instead, he puts a mind control device in someone we will call Mr. Jones. Now, if Mr. Jones decides not to unalive Mr. Smith, the device will switch on and force him to do it. However, Mr. Black observes that Mr. Jones goes in and unalives Mr. Smith of his own free will, and the device never switches on and forces him to do it. In this hypothetical case, Mr. Jones lacks the ability to do otherwise, but he is still morally responsible for unaliving Mr. Smith. Therefore, moral responsibility, or consenting to something, does not require the ability to do otherwise. And there are much better ways to define free will, like the one proposed by Robert Kane, which is that free will is the power to be the ultimate creator and sustainer of one's own ends and purposes, or the one proposed by Michael McKenna and Dirk Perboom. Free will is the unique ability of persons to exercise the strongest sense of control over their actions necessary for moral responsibility. So because free will does not require the ability to do otherwise, Mary could consent to God's plan, regardless if she was offered an alternative possibility or not. We also must remember that since God is omniscient, he would know the right woman to pick for this important task, who would be fully on board and not feel coerced at all. So just wanted to play that so people were aware of what Frankfurt cases are, how they work, and why figure that'd just be easier than trying to re-explain it all. But yeah, this is a bad argument either way, unfortunately. All right. So I, between heart and mind. So I held to natural law theory until I interacted with Dr. Dustin Crumit's work on it, a Christian philosopher. You guys should have him on to talk. Okay.
I've talked to him a few times. I like Dustin.
Yeah. Not read his stuff on it though. So I'm reading Eternal in Love right now. Man, it seems like classical theists never read the Bible or ignored it when they did. I don't have that. Not read it, so I can't speak to it.
That's Mullen's new book.
Oh,
It's very good.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to read that because I had him on to talk about it, and then I was like, yeah, I'll read this, and then I got sidetracked with a bunch of stuff. Flag should be outside, not anywhere in the sanctuary. Yes. And if we go to our good friend James's church, this is sacrilegious. If you put an American flag on that, it's just as sacrilegious. Christian nationalism, Christian nationalist churches to do that, I'd be just as annoyed. But this is just as bad. Come on, this is obviously a political statement. Bible Project pointed out that there are narrative links between Numbers 5 and Genesis. Very cool, interesting. Yeah, Bible Project is good for that kind of stuff. They do a lot of that.
Yeah.
This Goober did a sermon against Christian nationalism, but used inspirational quotes from pop culture instead of the Bible. Anathema. Yes. I mean, this is kind of what we get from liberal churches, liberal speakers. It's kind of like, I honestly look at liberal churches as and Christian nationalist churches as two sides of the same coin. They're doing the same thing, just in opposite directions. It's really annoying. You'll get Christian nationalist churches that are going to cite Thomas Jefferson and Donald Trump in a sermon, but then they won't use the Bible a lot. Likewise, in liberal churches, you'll get the same thing. It just bothers me. I know y'all hate me because I'm a young earther. Yeah, we hate young earthers. We crucify them.
We do not hate young earthers. We just don't like the rhetoric and stuff.
Yes, we don't hate them. We just think you're wrong. You should convert to theistic evolution. Than double cuz Macedonia. Oh, Than, hold your
Macedonia.
See, now you're in trouble, sir. Nonetheless,
I whipped out the Greek on you, man.
You're in trouble now, sir. Apologize for Philip attacking and taking over Athens. Apologize.
At least you're not Turkish, man.
Yeah, that would be worse. Great job. I can't wait to see what Than's work is with the New Testament. It's going to be awful. I can tell you right ahead. It's just awful.
I was part of it, so it's not going to be good.
It's awful stuff, yes. Awful.
This fall, hopefully.
Yes. Abortion and LGBT marriage were never accepted in Christianity until they became legal. Churches that excuse such things put modernity over scripture. Yeah. Yeah, it's an odd thing. It definitely wasn't the historical precedent. And you see a lot of people like James trying to say, well, it wasn't always this way. It's the conservative churches are the ones changing stuff, and it's just not true. A lot of issues. Who was the brother of James, Than? Was it Tony? Is that correct? It's true. It was Tony. Tony, the long-lost disciple.
I just remembered his last name had a T, and I remembered I had Frosted Flakes today, and Tony the Tiger popped in my head, and that's what happened in my head in a matter of a few seconds. I'm sorry.
Just know, if you eat a second bowl of Frosted Flakes, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. jumps up from behind the table and looks disapprovingly of you, just so you know. Yes. Too much chemicals, Than. You should know better. And we want to grant them that it was an abortion. Fine. Only God through a divine act can do an abortion. I'm okay with that position. They're not. Yeah, he's talking about Numbers 5. So if God is the one, it's only God through a divine act can do it. He never prescribes or allows humans to engage it. If they want to make a convoluted interpretation of Numbers 5, they could do that. Yeah. I thought it was explicit. Than brings the muscles, the drip, the insight reflects on the Barbie movie. He's a warehouse of complete packages. Stop talking about Than's package. It's gross, dude. Let's leave that out of this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, sir. I'm disappointed in you.
If you want to have conversations like that, you can sub to my OnlyFans.
Gross. It's so gross here. This is a Christian channel. How Christianity Saved Children is Beautiful. Thanks. That's the video that came out like a week ago. Appreciate it. You guys can see it on the channel right now. After the stream is over, of course. Stay here. Before Pakistan, I was in Poland, and due to them being so Catholic, they protested every weekend to keep abortion illegal. Insane at the differences between them and Americans. They don't falter easily. Yeah, it's very, very cultural in Poland to be super anti-abortion, which is great. They are based in Poland, super based. So let's see what else James has to say here.
And so that's how I come down on that side of the issue. Again, I'm very open for my fellow Christians to disagree with that, and they may have scriptural passages they point to be anti-abortion, and I think that's a debate that we should feel comfortable having. All I'm saying is that it shouldn't be assumed that just because you're a Christian, you are anti-gay or anti-abortion, because there are so many Christians out there who don't subscribe to either of those policy positions.
So first off, this is a straw man. Than, are you anti-gay? Are you anti the gays?
No.
Yeah, this is what liberals do constantly. If you are against like gay marriage, like you think churches should not have to be forced to perform those, you're anti-gay. No. We just don't agree with gay marriage.
Yeah.
That's the biblical position. And sorry, the biblical precedent is not on the pro-choice side, as we've shown. It makes no sense for a Christian to be pro-choice. If you're pro-choice and a Christian, you're doing it for cultural reasons, political reasons. There is no good religious reason, as we've already shown from the text, the early church history. So many issues there. There's a reason most Christians are anti-abortion. We don't want babies to die.
Yeah, I don't really.
Well, there's a lot of nuance.
Rhetoric.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I just don't. Maybe I'm just out of the loop here, but I've traveled across America a lot over the last 4 or 5 years for different speaking gigs and stuff like that through ministry. I've not been to one church, and I've been in the South a lot. Okay, I've not been to one church that I would classify as anti-gay. I just don't understand how you can, like, in good faith, use that kind of rhetoric.
Well, it's just as bad as like a conservative saying these liberal churches are anti-American.
Yeah.
Like it's the same. Again, Christian nationalists and liberal churches are like two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Don't subscribe to either of those policy positions.
So there's a lot of nuance if you're talking about abortion, right? Because you're not just talking about a woman's right to choose, but you're also talking about rape and incest.
That's right.
Right. So you're talking about a woman's right to choose whether or not she carries a baby when it was not her choice to begin with.
That's right. And it's why I think that almost everyone in this country is pro-choice to some extent.
Okay. Here's the argument we always make on this.
This is I'm sorry. It's just whenever I hear something like that, I just think about Richard Dawkins saying, "Oh, well, you're an atheist too. You just believe one less God than I do," or something like, bro, come on.
Here's the argument that actually Ben Shapiro put out. I don't agree with many things he says, but here's one I think he's right about. Ben Shapiro's made the case. Okay, if we agree that in rape and incest cases, which is like 1% of all abortions, that those should be allowed, would you agree that all other abortions should be illegal? Every single pro-choice person says no to that deal, because they don't actually. They're just using this to try to justify all cases, which is just horrible reasoning. Yeah. They're not like they bring that up as if it matters.
Justifying the people that actually went through those horrible instances and using them as objects to get to their social and political goals, which is to me really frustrating, and I find it disgusting. It is disgusting. I don't have to dig into that more.
Yeah. In rape and incest cases, if we agree abortions are allowed, then do you agree, James, that all other abortions should be illegal? They will always say no. Then why do you bring them up? You bring them up to because you're playing with people's emotions. You're tugging on heartstrings. Oh, but what about these cases? Fine. I agree there are cases that you can have an abortion, like when the mother's life is threatened, because that's called Thomas Aquinas' doctrine of double effect. You're not intending to kill the child. You're intending to save the life of the mother. You just create a double effect.
With my son, I was told I might have to make the choice when they were doing the emergency C-section between my wife and him. And it wasn't an easy decision, but I like in my head, in my heart, I was like, okay, well, my duty belongs to my wife first. And so if I have to make that decision, it'll be for my wife. But it's an edge case. And it's not like saying that I'm just going to be okay with elective abortions out of nowhere.
Yeah. Any abortion where the intent is not to save the lives of mother, but the intent is to kill the child, that should be wrong.
Correct.
Like, that is wrong. In terms of rape and incest cases, okay, again, they will never take that deal. So the argument is, again, two wrongs don't make it right. I don't see why the child has to die because this horrible thing had happened. It doesn't. That's just substitute. That's like penal substitution, really. It's this idea like we're going to make this innocent life suffer who didn't agree to it because this horrible thing happened, which everyone agrees it's horrible. But like there are so many wonderful options with today's medical technology for women out there. Like,
yeah.
But again, we're dealing with like 1% of the cases. Like, I'd be fully willing to take that deal, but no pro-choice person would ever take that deal with us.
Oh, I'd consider that such a win.
It would be a huge win. Yeah, but they never do. It's distraction from the real issue. What's going on here?
Because the polling indicates that the vast majority of Texans, the vast majority of Americans support exceptions for rape, incest, or threats to the mother's health.
Yeah.
Now,
I've had arguments with people that don't support that, though, which is interesting. They say the argument that they give is that two wrongs don't make a right. And, it's a crazy argument because they're even talking about it with underage girls.
But with underage girls, again, that's another exception where the mother's life is very likely to be at risk because the hips have not fully developed. So there's an instance where you could make a case. That's what medical doctors would need to come in and add their expertise in this kind of situation, for sure. Like, I absolutely agree that in those cases, sometimes abortions are necessary to save the mother's life. I know very few people that would take that view, especially in the pro-life movement, as far as I've seen.
But at least they're consistent. Again, if you believe that a fetus is a person, now,
well, it certainly has the potential to be a person, right?
Well, and a fetus is alive in terms of just biologically alive.
Yeah.
But we do have literally trillions of living organisms in us right now.
The but question they don't have the potential to be a full-grown human
absolutely.
being.
But the question is a fetus or is an embryo a person with full legal rights that trump the rights of a woman, or a girl, as you mentioned? Because if you're a 16-year-old girl who's been raped, does that embryo or that fetus, does its rights trump the rights of that girl?
Right.
Or the lie? And I say no. I think most Americans say no. And to me, that exposes kind of the lack of support for fetal personhood. Again, we can have.
Okay. What were you going to say?
Yeah. I don't like the framing here. I don't think that the framing is very helpful.
No.
It's an important question to ask, but maybe I can. This is something that I do sometimes when it comes to this topic, because let's think about it this way. When you think about your favorite superheroes, and actually let's just give a real example here. There's a girl that I know in the city that I live in who was unfortunately raped, and she delivered by her own choice the child of a rapist, and that child is healthy. She's healthy. She's gone to counseling. The community has come around her. Everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every single time I talk about, and I'm not going to give too many details, just on the off chance I accidentally dox or anything, okay?
Yeah.
And every single time this person comes up, it doesn't matter if they're an atheist, a leftist, a conservative, whatever, right? Everybody's just thinking horrible situation that girl went through, but oh my gosh, is she admirable.
Yeah.
She is like a superhero to a lot of people. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's an intuition pump. I'll admit that, but it's an intuition pump that should point you in a direction that something is off when we start framing things about of these situations with rights that are trumping other rights and stuff like that. Those are important questions to ask, but at the end of the day, I think we can see the point in the story, which is that girl did something incredibly admirable when she decided to keep the child. And if that's an admirable thing, why are we saying that? Why are we telling people don't do the admirable thing, don't do the good thing? Are you picking up what I'm putting down here, Mike?
No, I get what you mean. Yeah, we're telling people to not strive to be the best versions of themselves. Now, I agree there are some instances where, like, you know, you have the mother's life at stake.
Yeah.
But like in this whole issue, like when does again, if we're gonna go back to excluding the rape and incest cases with the marginal cases, because again, they never want to take that deal with us. If we're going back to most cases, what right is trumped? What rights are being trumped? Oh, someone's right to life is being trumped because some person wants to have the freedom to like just have more freedom of not being weighed down by being a parent. I don't think that right trumps the right to life. I've not seen a good case that it does. Like, you got to actually make a strong case that, like, some girl gets pregnant, she wants to have an abortion, she consented to the intercourse, and now she's like, well, I don't really want to because I want to go to school. I want to focus on my career. I'm sorry, I don't think that trumps someone's right to life. And they bring up the violinist scenario.
Yeah,
You heard this before?
It's such a horrible argument.
Imagine you wake up and you are like chained in a room to a the world's greatest violinist, and like they have like put like life support on him, and you have to keep him alive for like 9 months. You're connected to him like through like vital organs. I forget exactly how the analogy goes, but you get the point. And they say like, you know, like, oh, would you disconnect yourself? I heard someone respond the simplest way possible. It depends. The analogy confuses passive and active responses.
Mm-hmm.
If I just have to passively disconnect myself, that's a lot different than me having to stab the guy. I would not actively stab the guy. But if I could just passively disconnect myself, that's a lot different. Meanwhile, with an abortion, you're actively going in and you are dissembling an innocent baby. Like, let's be honest, it's not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than this, where you could just act like passively disconnect yourself. But if I had to like actively like harm the guy, I wouldn't. I would just stay there. So there's a huge difference in that really bad analogy versus what an actual thing is. And again, the analogy only works in like when you're comparing it to rape cases.
Yes.
It doesn't work for 99% of these abortions, which they're trying to justify. So the violinist argument doesn't even work for, again, what they're trying to justify, which is elective abortions on demand whenever they want at any stage of the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Have conversations about limits to abortion, all of those things. But I do think it's clear that most Americans believe that a woman or a girl should have the autonomy to make those decisions about their own body.
I think most Americans probably would agree with that, but I think also most Americans are very uncomfortable with the concept of late-term abortions.
Sure. Yeah. And I would say,
what are your thoughts on late-term abortions?
Well, I think if you look at the data, the late-term abortions that happen are almost exclusively to save the life of the mother. Because, I mean, now you're talking about people who have picked out a name, who have bought a crib.
Mm-hmm.
People
Okay,
who,
James is gaslighting. And I thought this was a pretty dishonest part of the whole interview. That's not what was asked. The question was, what is your stance on late-term abortions? And he goes, well, most of them are just to save the life of the mother. Okay, great. Well, let's outlaw them then, except in cases where the life of the mother is at stake. Again, pro-choice proponents always say no. They don't want that. They want elective abortions at any stage of the pregnancy. So when we bring up that kind of stuff, they go, no, still allow it. So James is a parent. So why did James deflect? Why didn't he just say, yeah, if certain stage, 14 weeks, 15 weeks, no more abortions after that? That's the way it is in some European countries. They have, after a certain number of weeks, abortions are illegal. Why not
What
here?
is his position? Do you know his position?
No, I think it seems from what I can gather when I'm looking around on the internet, I probably missed something for sure. It seems he's just pro-choice all the way.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay.
Like, what, I forgot the technical term off the top of my head, like even post-birth?
I don't think so, no. I don't think
Okay.
he's like that, no.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it. But yeah, basically, if for example, late-term abortions are only to save the life of the mother, what's wrong with outlawing them electively? Like, let me just play the clip because Joe Rogan brings up a good point here.
Who want this baby, and so the only time this happens is for immediate life-threatening medical reasons.
Right, but there are exceptions to that, right? There are people that change their mind.
Well, and I think within Roe versus Wade, there was a legal framework for.
Again, he's not answering the question. Like, Joe is right. People do change their minds. Like, sometimes a couple gets pregnant. Halfway through the pregnancy, the guy who's a douche will ditch. Like, he'll leave.
Yeah.
And the woman panics. She has an abortion. That's horrible. That shouldn't happen. That's murder. Sometimes people like lose a job and they go, oh, now I got to get rid of the baby. Like, sure,
Yeah.
those are rare, but why can't they be illegal?
Yeah. This is also where I would honestly encourage churches to be what the community needs them to be in these areas too, which they do for the most part. It's just people don't talk about this.
No, they never.
Like, my church has a fund for scenarios like this. We come together and we help people. And so we guys, get your crap together. I don't care if you're a Christian or not a Christian. Like, stop being a slob and take care of your responsibilities. Life is hard. Suck it up. Be harder. Like,
yeah. And here's the thing. I would say 90% of the churches, if you are a pregnant single woman, you walk into any church and you go, I need help. I'm pretty sure. So for 90% of the churches in America, they will help in any way they possibly can.
mm-hmm.
Like, this is a huge issue in the churches. This is why, as I said earlier, this is when a lot of conservative Christians vote around. They're more than willing. I did some volunteer work for a church, for a ministry when I lived in Pittsburgh. It's called the Pregnancy Resource Center. I did really cheap video production for them. Like, to help them make videos of testimonies to get information out for them. Like, this was like 20 some years ago, but like there's all sorts of places that are more than willing to help. And that Pregnancy Resource Center was funded by churches. So like,
Yeah.
I just like, this is, again, why can't like when you talk to pro-choice people, it's always the same two arguments. Like, hey, can we outlaw late-term abortions? Well, those are rare. We don't need to. Well, then what's the problem? Just outlaw them then. Like, just be safe.
Yeah, I find a little bit of irony there, right? Well, yeah, but like, think about all these really extenuating circumstances where it's like rape and incest and yada yada yada. Yeah, but those are like the minority of the situations. Yeah, but we still need to talk about them. And all of a sudden, it's like late-term abortions. Well, those are the minority. We don't have to talk about that. Let's go to a different topic.
Yeah. I can't find anything on his position on late-term abortions. Let's see.
Okay.
Here's something.
Go ahead.
What?
Nothing. I was just going to ask you if you know something, but it's not related.
So it's the pro-life scoreboard gives him a 0%. While the bill, so he said no, while the bill to prohibit the remaining late-term abortions and discriminatory abortions in Texas did not receive a vote on the House floor. Members were asked numerous times by activists their votes in Texas right to life to show their public support by co-authoring the bill anytime during the session. So apparently he was asked about that and he was not for it. But he's never made an official statement, it seems, on late-term abortions, from what I can gather. But right to life gives him a 0%. percent score on his stance on this kind of stuff. So that's unfortunate. Because again, Joe Rogan is asking him some important questions. What about late-term abortions? And he's just deflecting. Like that answer the question.
Yeah.
For states to be able to make decisions about how you regulate abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And so if a state decides that they wanted to ban elective late-term abortions, if those things happen, then that was completely fine within the framework of Roe versus Wade. But we're not having that conversation, right? We're having a conversation about a total extreme ban on abortion.
But
Here in Texas, the most extreme.
The thing about Roe versus Wade, though, was Roe versus Wade. The issue was that it was a federal thing, and that it was supposed to be up to the states to make their own decisions, right?
Yeah.
So how did it get passed in Texas that it was, I think it's 6 weeks, right? Which is very early, which is the point where a lot of women don't even realize that they're pregnant.
Well, and that was the original ban that passed, but then Texas had a trigger law in place, which was if Roe v. Wade is overturned, which it was, then Texas would automatically ban abortion in all cases. So no longer a week by week framework. It was a total ban. So there was that original ban that went into place, but then that was, because Roe was overturned, was then replaced by a total ban. So in Texas, again, we're not recognizing any of the shades of gray in this conversation. It is the most extreme ban in the country, and we've seen the devastating consequences of it.
I would be fine with what he's saying here. Yeah, sometimes these extreme bans go too far. I totally agree with him here.
Texas women who were forced to wait in emergency room parking lots until they went into sepsis. I mean, we've seen women banned from using public highways to travel out of state to get an abortion. I mean, that's what they were just trying to do in Lubbock, was prevent women from using public highways.
Well, there was also the thing where they were trying to go after women that traveled to other states.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And even if there was...
Yeah, I would agree this is a little crazy, for sure. I don't think anyone here would disagree with that.
Yeah, my trouble here is, like, why are we bringing this up to support his position? Like, all that follows from this is that we need to be more careful with how we enact legislature.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? Like,
good point. Yeah. Totally agree.
There was no evidence, like, say if a woman travels to see her in-laws or her parents or something like that, and then has a miscarriage.
Right.
That to me was very creepy. That if this woman had traveled somewhere where abortion is legal and then lost her baby, they would then be accused, even if they had not had an abortion. They would be questioned. And
that's crazy. This is just going way too far. You know, it's that if that's what's going on, and this could be a mischaracterization for all I know.
That to me is incredibly insensitive, especially when you take into consideration that some of these women might not have had abortions at all. They might have just lost the baby, which happens quite often where there are miscarriages.
It's interesting you bring up miscarriages, because, you know, if I'm, again, trying to take people at their word, trying to assume the best intentions and hear a good faith argument on the other side of this, if my concern is with the life of an embryo or the life of a fetus, the greatest threat to that life is a miscarriage. I mean, if your concern is how many embryos or fetuses we're losing, the number that we lose to miscarriage versus the number we lose to abortion, I mean, it's dwarfed. And so I'm always interested why the pro-life movement is not more interested in figuring out how we prevent more miscarriages. Because if your concern is that embryonic life, it seems like finding ways to prevent miscarriage, which we have best practices that can do it, right? Making sure people are covered by health insurance once their pregnancy starts. I mean, that's a huge opportunity to prevent.
Yes, the March for Life is now changing. We're going to start protesting nature for miscarriages.
Like, this is such a common thing that I don't know. It's really frustrating, because it's the whole, like, you can point to this. Oh, you're pro-life. Well, why aren't you holding men accountable for like providing for the women that they get pregnant. I am like, I am pro all of that stuff, and I can be focused on pro-life positions. It's just whataboutism at the end of the day, and you're trying to like, it's basically poisoning the well. I'm sure we could, I'm sure we could sit here and point to tons of hypocrisy and irony in the things that James you focus on, that is not congruent with the pro-choice position. But it's not going to help actually discover what is the good, what is true, or what is beautiful. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everyone is against for trying to end miscarriages. What I think James is trying to argue is that, well, then you should be for like expanding healthcare as much as possible so that more people can have access to healthcare to prevent miscarriages. First of all, I think a lot of conservatives are for expanding healthcare. We just would probably disagree with the ways to go about it. The government is a horrible institution that cannot manage healthcare. So we don't think that's the best way to expand healthcare. So this is this weird false dichotomy you get from some people on the left. It's like, oh, if you are not for our specific ways of providing healthcare, then you are for more miscarriages. That's a false dichotomy. You can be against more miscarriages and be like, well, yes, let's expand healthcare, but I don't think your ways work. I think more government healthcare creates more problems ultimately. So yeah, that's just another false dichotomy there that we're getting constantly.
Yeah.
We got a troll in the chat. His name is Kevin, and he's angry. He says, actually, Christians are not more charitable. Use the money to propagate religion. Yes. Let me
No.
Yo, Kevin, you got to watch my debate with Lawrence Krauss and just read some of these studies here that I put up there.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to read the studies, because anything that you show Mike, here's the thing. It is being done by people propagating religion, and religion is bad.
But look, the religious affiliation, more giving to out-group and secular organizations.
Still bad.
Same with this.
We don't want your money.
Churchgoers.
We don't want your money.
Church attendance, religious
It's
volunteering.
religion money, and we don't like that.
Yes. Yeah. Childhood religiosity leads to more giving in later in life. All these studies on missionary activity shows long-term positive effects for missionary activity. Cross-national investigation of 126 countries. Again, religiosity helps with a lot. So Kevin needs to do some research. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The rest of my case. But watch my debate with Lawrence Krauss where I go into that in more detail. Did we do this one yet? No. John leapt in Elizabeth's womb. His response to Mary's greetings, doesn't that strongly imply fetal personhood? It's very, very strongly implies. Yes, absolutely. It's hard to get around that. It's pretty obvious that, that's a person. Thoughts on scripture? Babies were given a blessing from God. Blessings don't belong in medical waste. Throughout scripture, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even just think about the contrasting narratives in Genesis in general, right? There's the blessing of fertility, and there's the curse of infertility, and that's prevalent all throughout Genesis as well. I mean, there's a miracle done in the Old Testament where somebody is able to get pregnant when they should not have been. So.
Is the baby Than okay? I think he meant is the baby you were talking about earlier.
Is
okay?
the baby
yes.
Than okay?
And yes, the Polish are base is what he says.
Yes. Yeah, I have 3. Yes, it's my oldest son. He is doing great. He loves anime, loves working out. I'm teaching him how to box. We are playing through Pokemon right now. We just played through Zelda together. He loves Jesus. He's awesome.
Could there be a parallel with self-defense laws? Yeah. I mean, like, you don't murder, but if you're like self-defense, sure. But I don't know that would be a parallel to abortion.
It depends on where.
Well, I mean, if the somehow the life of the mother is threatened, you can look at it like a self-defense law, perhaps.
Yeah.
Are Christians who disagree in danger of hell? No, I don't think
so.
they're in danger of hell because we're saved by grace through faith, not correct theology. Theoretically, would not a pregnant minor be able to have a C-section and save both lives? I know there's many complications, but best case, yeah, there's a lot. That's the thing with medical technology. The pro-life movement has pointed out, with medical technology, we've limited the number of times the mother's life is threatened. It's very, very rare now. It's exceptionally rare now. So less excuses at this point. James' starting topic of not insulting, of not instituting a theocracy is his best take. Recently heard
very
about
based.
theonomy and yikes. I know, yikes. Yeah.
Oh, theonomy, my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of his attacks against them in the beginning is also, again, misguided, but I do agree ultimately that with what he's talking about in the beginning. Saving the life of the mother is ethically different. The ending of the life of the child is unintended, unlike most abortions. Yeah. That's what I said earlier. Yeah, with the Thomas Aquinas' doctrine of double effect. The intent is to save the life. It's not to end the child's life. So in that, no one is intending for a child to die. If the mother's life came to be in danger, would a surgery not take place to remove the baby and try to save both? Yeah, that's the best case scenario for sure.
Yep.
That a lot of strive for. It's not feasible before a certain week, though. I just don't remember what it is. Going after women traveling is a stretch, but the women in parking lots using until sepsis was a misapplication of the law.
Yes, that's true.
Doctors. What was that?
He cited that there was women dying of sepsis in parking lots because of the laws that they were making, but it's not because of the laws. It was just the doctors not applying the laws correctly that resulted in this. In this particular instance, I just don't have the specifics off the top of my head right now on this, but she's right.
Someone says Kevin left.
Baby, come back.
You're hiding, boy. You're hiding. And you know you can't come out and show your face.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist when I saw that.
That was funny.
It almost seems demonic in the way James tried to attach Jesus to pro-abortion. Also, would he then argue that Mary could have killed Jesus in the womb? Yeah, that's a question I always have for pro-choice Christians. If Mary wanted to kill Jesus 8 months in, would you be okay with that? About 7 months, 6 months?
Yeah.
What is their answer? I guarantee it will never be a straight answer. Because again, being a pro-choice Christian does not make sense.
Yeah.
No qualms about saying that. It makes absolutely no sense, especially if you study church history. So, okay. Do you want to end, or do you want to watch any more of this interview?
It's up to you, man. Is there anything else you wanted to cover from the video? Because remember, all I could really get to is the first 15 minutes and the
yeah. Man, I'm annoyed my debate's not happening. I was so focused on that, and now I'm like, what do I do with my life now? So all ready for that debate tomorrow. I was like, I got my opening statement written out.
I can pretend to be a Muslim.
Only if you put on a full burqa, so we don't have to stare at your face anymore.
Deal.
I want a niqab and everything.
That's fine. I will stay up all night. I will learn Arabic, and that way I'll just start screaming at you in Arabic and random places.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let me play one more clip. If you guys want to put super chats in, put them now. Also, Than is almost fully funded. We're getting very close. So if you guys could please donate, become a monthly donor below. We lost a couple this month. But if you guys anyone could become a $5, $10, $15, $20 monthly donor, that'd be great help, helping us continuing to produce more streams and more videos. Than is working on a reply to a YouTube creator right now. Do you want to mention who that is?
Oh, I was, for a second, I was like, who are you talking about? Oh, yeah. You guys asked me a while back about Dr. Mike Israetel and his takes on religion and stuff like that. So I compiled a bunch of clips and put them together and have like 40 pages of notes that I'm going to record and reply to. So yeah, look out for that.
This comment says we're better than Redeem Zoomer, by the way. I just want to point that out. This is true. This is a fact. I just had to make sure that everyone acknowledged the fact. Anyway, continue.
No. One of the things that I do really want to do, though, is if Dr. Mike actually sees the video, I would love to get a chance to actually have a discussion with him. So I'm preparing my army of dogs
hounds
to help procure a seat at the table with Dr. Mike Israel when that comes out.
Excellent. Yeah. So just remember, if you sign up to be very big help right now, we currently have a video for donors. Did Justin Martyr teach Jesus came from paganism? Of course, we're going to be debunking that myth that Jesus mythicists put out. If you sign up to donate, you'll get access to that video now. You can watch it. But please consider donating. It will help us and help us get fully funded because we are still not there. There's like 400 people watching. If all of you just did like $5 a month, that'd get us there.
Seriously.
Sure. Yeah. So we're almost there. Getting close. And then when we get there, we will tell you.
I will, if we get to the point that I am fully funded, I will do a celebratory stream and address. I don't know. You guys tell me what you want.
Oh, then the Dawa guys will lose their mind. Oh, look at him cross-dressing. How dare he?
Okay, hear me out.
Just like our prophet did once.
I am in the middle of my cut. So if this happens within like 4 or 5 months, I will be very, very lean. And then will they really try to make fun of me if I'm sitting there with my striations and my different muscle group insertions showing and everything? They will? Okay. Well.
Oh, yes. They are terrified. They're very insecure because there's hadiths about Muhammad possibly wearing his child.
Well, I will let the community decide what we will do for a celebratory thingy when that happens.
Let's play this here.
Let's take the issue of homosexuality in particular.
Fanny's talking about you again.
One is something Jesus never talks about, even though gay people.
I couldn't resist. It's so easy.
Existed in the ancient world.
Is it in the Old Testament?
So there, in the Old Testament, there is a prohibition against men lying with other men.
Right.
And here's the thing, and any biblical scholar will tell you this. In a lot of ways, we're dealing with ancient euphemisms, and it's hard to tell what a euphemism means thousands of years later. Right. I had a professor at seminary. This is going to sound weird, but he was like, think about 2,000 years from now, how difficult it'll be for people to tell the difference between a butt dial and a booty call, right? Like those are two things that sound very similar on a piece of paper and they have very different meanings. And so
that's funny.
So like in the Hebrew Bible, you do have this prohibition. We're not sure exactly what it means. And if we're taking it just literally, does that mean that we're also we're prohibiting same-sex relationships between women? Right, because that's not prohibited in that particular scripture.
How is it?
But it's in Romans 1. He never actually explains what Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20 mean.
Yeah.
He just says, well, they're euphemisms. It could mean something else. Who knows? No, we know what it means. It's in a bunch of clauses outlawing specific sexual engagements. It's pretty obvious what the intended meaning is. And that's not just coming, but that's also Paul's understanding of the text.
Yeah.
Like wrong slides. Hold on.
Amateur hour over here, man.
Amateur hour. I know. What are you going to do? If you go, did I put up the right ones this time? Yes, there. Haha, I did it right this time. If you go to Robert Canon's book, The Bible and Homosexual Practice, they're in a section about sexuality. It's very clear. But then Paul himself, the very apostle who proclaimed salvation in Christ apart from the law, clearly believed that there was considerable continuity in the divine will across the two covenants in matters of sexual ethics. That Paul consciously formulated his opposition to same-sex intercourse in light of the Levitical prohibitions is evident from the following. Paul's stance against incest in 1 Corinthians 5 echoes the incest laws, Leviticus 18, and the description of the father's wife in 1 Corinthians 5 with Leviticus 18, 7-8. His use of a specific word in Romans 1:27 coincides with its usage 24 times in Leviticus 18:20 as well to describe various illicit sexual acts. So the word itself appears in Leviticus 18. Finally, the very term that Paul employs for men who take other males to bed is a compound formed from the words in Leviticus 18 and 20. So when Paul is outlawing certain sexual ethics, what is he going to? He's going to Leviticus.
Yeah.
Like Robert Ganon notes that, like, okay, yeah, people can say Leviticus is Old Testament. The problem is that Paul brings Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20 back into focus in places like Romans 1 and 1 Corinthians 6, as Robert Cannon points out in his book. So that sexual ethic still applies to us today. You can't get around it.
Did he say that there's no like early church evidence of this ethic or anything like that too?
I think so.
Okay, so let me just pull this up quick here. Oh no, I have it. Cool. 330 to 379 AD, we have Basil of Caesarea, and in his letter to Amphilochius in the book of the Canons, he writes, "He who is guilty of unseemliness with males will be under discipline for the same time as adulterers."
All right. There you go.
I'm just pointing it out that we have a historical precedence for this.
Yeah. And if it's a euphemism, what does it actually mean? Like, were you saying, well, we don't know the meaning, so it could mean anything. Therefore, the ancient Israelites allowed the practice. I mean, I know that like there were cultures that did allow that around Israel, but like it seems pretty clear from reading Leviticus they were against that.
Yeah.
And again, what happens in the New Testament? Paul takes that sexual ethic into the New Covenant, so there's no way to get around it now. Thank you, Andrew Graham, for becoming a channel member. For my fuzzy little man Peach Than. Oh.
I don't really know what...
You gonna take that?
What does it mean to be a fuzzy little man, Peach?
You means to be Than.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess. Is this an insult or a compliment though?
It's I'm assuming a compliment, and so let's just fix that now. There we go. Perfect. Your name is now fixed. Perfect. Fuzzy little man Peach. There he is. I'm not calling this guy stupid, but he seems very uninformed on many of these subjects, but also maybe a little stupid, possibly. I wouldn't call him stupid either. I'm just rather annoyed with the way he's twisting scripture, and that's what inspired the stream. If he would have just left that out, this would never have happened. But if you're going to try to make a biblical case for abortion, you better get your crap together. Like, you can't be throwing these weak arguments around. So, all right, we will finish super chats and then close this out because I'm done with that. The guy, like, I also probably would have done the stream if the guy wasn't in seminary. Like, you're in seminary, get your facts right. You're supposed to be reading the Bible a lot. And it's just like, I get making a couple errors here and there. I do it. I get it. Than does it all the time. But I mean, like, Than does it all the time. I just do it every once in a while. But
no, Mike, you're the infallible magisterium of IP. Remember?
Infallible. It's true. That's why I'm going to be the Pope soon. No, it's like it happens, but it just seemed like there were so many. And it's like he constantly just like got so many things wrong. It was like clearly he was not aware of a lot of these stuff. It was rather annoying. Unrelated, does Eden as the sacred space / temple undercut the idea that the rest of the earth was perfect as young earth creation is claimed? Why need a designated place if everywhere was perfect? Could elaborate more. I would add to that, Ryan, that not only that, God says in Genesis 1 for humankind to subdue the earth. If the earth was perfect, why does God need humans to subdue it? And then, of course, he sets up Eden as like the sacred temple space where the perfection is supposed to be. And then humans are supposed to take that perfection and export it out. A combined reading of Genesis 1 and 2. So, yeah, it's a good argument. You can't spell Pope without IP. The I in Pope is invisible. That's true. The I in Pope is silent. People don't realize that. It's silent and invisible. So, okay. We're done with super chats. Going once, going twice. Cool.
Man.
Anyway. So,
I do hope he reaches out to us. That'd be really cool. I would honestly love to talk with him.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I do it. Yeah, do it this week. If you want to do.
I'm sorry, James.
I have my schedule freed up. Apparently,
that's true, James. It's the perfect time.
Yeah. So, are you going on God Logic stream at any point? Yeah, maybe Wednesday. I might be doing that now.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. So hopefully that happens soon. Yeah. So we have video coming out Friday, which you guys can watch now on Patreon, and if you donate through the website, so sign up to donate. Also, Stan and I will probably be streaming Thursday on Islam because I enjoy watching Than realize how dumb Dawa is. It is fun to watch.
Yeah. I will have apple
It is.
juice.
You're gonna need it for this.
No, I
one,
can't.
tell
I
me.
can't. I'm on a cut. I can't drink. I can't have apple juice. That's the sugar.
He's running. He's
I will have-
afraid
I
of
will
the
have-
sugar.
I will have something else to take the edge off.
Sugar. He's afraid. Okay, so all right. No more super chats. Looks like I think we're good. What are you eating?
Broccoli.
You nerd. You nerd. All right. Well, I'm gonna try to figure out my debate issue. Get Abdullah on Al-Andalusi to get us at times that we can actually do the debate. Because again, that should happen sooner rather than later. Anyway. All right. We'll see you guys Thursday. Peace.